Welcome to This Week in Sports with DeAngelo Richardson. DeAngelo Richardson is a personal trainer, fitness influencer, and athlete. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of sports. Each week, DeAngelo will break down and explain some of the most important stories of the week in sports, from basketball, football, and soccer to hockey, baseball, and sports in the pandemic. Be in the know now. I'm Dave Liss, D's sidekick. This week, Dee will give updates on the latest in the NBA Finals, the COVID outbreak in the NFL, the Stanley Cup, World Soccer news, the most underreported sports stories of the week, and pandemic trends in fitness. Dee, the Lakers and the Heat finished their NBA Championship Series with the Lakers on top and LeBron and the Lakers with an incredible finish. What happened to the Heat? How did the Lakers make it to the NBA Finals this year?
So let's take it back to this past summer where the Lakers were able to sign Anthony Davis, a universally renowned top 5 player in the NBA, and also a MVP caliber player. When they got him, the skies were the limit for the Lakers. So starting over 15 months ago, when they first got the training cap, through the regular season where they were the top 2 team in the league with the Milwaukee Bucks. And then obviously we had the stoppage with the pandemic, not knowing whether we were going to finish the season or not. The Lakers came together in the bubble. They dominated the bubble all throughout the playoffs and solidified it with the championship. They got their 17th championship banner in team history, which is tied the most in NBA history with the Boston Celtics. The Heat deserve some credit too. They were undermanned from Game 1 in the NBA Finals when 2 of their starters, Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo, both got hurt and missed the middle 3 games. A credit to Jimmy Butler, I would say a now superstar. He led the Heat to 2 wins over the Lakers, even though they were undermanned. But the Lakers were just too much, too deep. LeBron was too great, averaged nearly a triple-double in these finals. And now he has his 4th championship and now his 4th finals MVP, which is only in line with what only 3 other people have done, which was Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain.
What is going on in the NFL with COVID? What teams and players are out? What will happen to teams that have had to cancel games? Who are your top teams now? And what do you think the playoffs and the Super Bowl will look like?
Yeah, so it took about 5 weeks, but the NFL has finally been forced to throw part of its regular season schedule out the window. Although the league made a few minor schedule modifications within the last couple of weeks, the outbreak of coronavirus in Tennessee specifically, along with other positive tests with other teams, forced the NFL to revamp its schedule. I believe the NFL made an adjustment to the schedule that had a direct impact on about 10 teams over 6 weeks. So if you combine the league's decision to postpone the Steelers-Titans game a couple weeks ago now, that means like about 11 teams have been impacted by the changes, actually. So unfortunately for some teams, the schedule changes weren't created equal. Some teams will benefit from the changes while others may complain, and rightfully so, because a lot of times it might not be their fault for the changes. But the league's going to do everything it can to try to fit these 256 regular season games in the schedule year without having to postpone or have teams forfeit. They want to try to stay on schedule with the playoffs and with the eventual Super Bowl that's supposed to be in Tampa. The NFL and the NFLPA, the Players Association, could eventually agree on placing players in hotels for as long as they're in the postseason. So this is postseason talk, not regular season talk. Obviously, that would be after the holidays. Will last at least for at most 6 weeks and will eliminate most, but not all of the risk of contracting the virus through community spread. So whether the playoffs begin the weekend of January 10th And then on February 7th, which is what the regular date is unclear. The commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell, stressed that flexibility will be critical. And Vincent, who is the NFLPA director, gave the strongest on-the-record comments from a league executive about the possibility of a Week 18, which would be an extra. Usually, there's only 17 weeks in the season. And if there's so many either cancellations or schedule changes that they have to add a week to the schedule, it would be Week 18. And so his comment was that we lose the flexibility, as you can see, as the weeks go on, as we have to adjust, and that's what we have to avoid. As the season progresses, we lose the buys. Each team gets 1 week off during the season usually. So the 18-week window, the commissioner did reference that in his opening remarks that the focus is playing 256 games in the 17-week window, knowing that potentially if the season continues to progress and different things happen, the 18th week could potentially be an option there for him. So that's where we're at with the NFL.
Tell us about this year's pandemic Stanley Cup finals.
So I would say the most successful sports leagues in regards to handling the virus, it has to be the NHL, and right at the top, along with the NWSL, which is the women's soccer league here in the U.S., and the WNBA, the women's basketball league. They managed to have an entire, playoffs and season, actually, or end of season for the NHL specifically, without any COVID positive test. And that says a lot about the protocols that were put in place by the NHL as they moved their bubble to Canada, where they held the playoffs and the Stanley Cup finals. And with that result, the Tampa Bay Lightning were able to pull off the 4-2 series win against the Dallas Stars in order to become Stanley Cup champions for the first time in their team history since 2004.
New York Yankees legend Bob Gibson died this week at 91. In addition, Joe Morgan as well. Can you tell us about the life and legends of these famous players?
Yeah, I'll start with Bob Gibson, regarded as one of the greatest pitchers of all time, maybe the greatest athlete to ever pitch in the big leagues. And when it came to competing, no one was more ferocious than Bob Gibson. Gibson went 251 and 174 record with a 2.91 ERA for the Cardinals from 1959 to 1975, making him, without a doubt, the greatest pitcher in Cardinals history, and after Stan Musial, the greatest player in Cardinals history. Gibson won 2 Cy Young Awards in 1968 and 1970, the first Cardinal to win the Cy Young, the only Cardinal to win the award twice. In his 1968 season, he posted a 1.12 ERA, the lowest by any pitcher in the live ball era since 1920, and the second lowest to the Cubs' Mordecai Three Finger Brown, which was a 1.04 ERA in 1906. So that's taking it way back. Gibson was perhaps as good an athlete as ever pitched in the major leagues. Like I said before, he was a great hitter. He had 24 home runs, which only 7 pitchers surpassed in the game's history. In 1970, he joined a select group of pitchers who won 20 games in the season, in which he batted at or above 300 at the plate. Gibson was also one of the best fielding pitchers of all time, winning 9 Gold Gloves, and who announced in July he had pancreatic cancer, unfortunately, so he died at the age of 84, but he lived a wonderful life and had a great career. And then Joe Morgan, he was a Hall of Fame second baseman, a key member of the Cincinnati Reds' famed Big Red Machine. He died this past Sunday. He was 77, and Morgan was a 2-time National League Most Valuable Player, a 10-time All-Star, and a 5-time Gold Glove Award winner. He is widely regarded as one of the best second basemen in baseball history, and he gained renown for his 25-plus years as a broadcaster after his playing career, which a lot of young kids know, or kids my age, which is in the 30-year range, know him as a broadcaster. That's how I knew him for most of my life. Morgan spent the majority of his 22-year career with the Reds and the Houston Astros franchises. And along with Pete Rose and fellow Hall of Famers Johnny Bench and Tony Perez, Morgan helped the Reds win back-to-back World Series championships in 1975 and 1976. Cincinnati also reached the World Series in 1972, which was Morgan's 4th year with the Reds. So may they both rest in peace.
Where are we in global soccer news and player movements?
So, latest news is that Europe's elite will soon be battling it out again as the Champions League returns for another season from a brief break. Thanks to the coronavirus pandemic-related delays, the 2021 and the 2019-2020 editions were actually running concurrently for a period, but UEFA will hope that things return to normal sooner rather than later. And right now, the Champions League group stage for 2020 and 2021 starts with games on Tuesday, October 20th, and Wednesday, October 21st. UEFA also announced that fans will be allowed to return for international competitions where the local law permits, and stadiums can be filled to a maximum of, I believe, 30% capacity, and no away fans obviously will be permitted to travel, only local fans. So that's where we're at with global soccer news right now.
That's pretty interesting. What are the top 3 underreported stories in sports this week?
The NFL is fining coaches for not wearing their mask properly on the sideline. And I believe it's still the same. Everyone's on top of it now, but before, 5 NFL coaches were subject to fines of what I believe $100,000 each. So the NFL is taking people wearing, masks on the sideline very seriously. They want coaches and assistants and staff to wear their mask at all times on the field. The second story is actually that we're in the midst of the 2020 MLB playoffs, where they they took 4 teams. They have their 4 teams now in the championship series in the ALCS and the NLCS, and a bubble of their own, making one at Petco Park and another in, I believe, is San Diego. And so right now that those are coming to a wind down as the Tampa Bay Rays are up 3-1 against the Houston Astros. Need one more win to clinch their bid to the World Series, and then the Los Angeles Dodgers are, I believe they are down 2-1. They're down 2-1 to the Atlanta Braves. And so these series are pretty close as far as the Dodgers and Braves go. And hopefully by next week, we'll have the real series kicking off. And then the last story is a little old. I guess it's kind of funny now because LeBron's back at home. But while LeBron was in the bubble going to his championship run, Bronny James, his son, who is about, I believe, 16 at this point, was posted a story on Instagram where he was smoking weed. And during one of LeBron's press conferences and when he was in the bubble, LeBron's reaction was, don't make me leave this bubble, which brought some nice humor to a tough time being away from his family. Bronny acting like he's grown now. And, now that LeBron's back home celebrating a championship, maybe I think Bronny might be staying at his friend's house for a few days. That's what I heard in the streets. So we'll see when he gets back home.
I'm sure a lot of families can identify with that.
I believe so.
As a global fitness influencer, what trends are you noticing as we move towards colder weather and an increase in COVID cases in the White House and across the United States?
Yeah, so 2020 has upended every aspect of normalcy we both love and loathe. But one thing that can remain the same is that with fall comes cold and flu season. And obviously with COVID, this year may be worse than ever if cases of the flu and COVID surge, which is likely to happen. Luckily, there are precautions each of us can take to minimize the chances of getting sick with either the flu or COVID-19 and increase the chances of recovering faster if we're unlucky enough to catch one of the many viruses that will be swarming in just a month or two. Biggest thing I can say as far as just being healthy is get your flu shot first and foremost. Keep exercising and keep eating healthy. Keep your immune system as strong as possible. Stay rested, stay hygienic, and your body will be primed to take on any virus it may come across. And that's what, anyone and obviously keep up with the, fitness. If you're not going to a gym, make sure you're out and about taking walks or doing home workouts or running outside. Or if you are going to a gym, staying with the routine, lifting weights, keeping your body strong. There's a multitude of things that you can do during this time of year, whether there was COVID or not, to keep your body healthy from the fall season and the sicknesses and illnesses that come with the fall season.
Thank you for joining us for This Week in Sports with DeAngelo Richardson. Please stay tuned for the near future when we have future episodes coming out for your ears and anywhere in the world. Thank you.